Right. So when you get to see and experience what happens in other education systems, you then want to compare with the systems that you already knew, and then want to see if the system you already practiced in, or the system that you grew up knowing, uh, what are the comparisons with the other systems maybe that you are now practicing in. And then uh, then the education system not too harsh to the Zimbabwean child? Is it not too hard for the Zimbabwean learner? Looking at how things are actually easy for them. Um, let's say, let me talk about the England education system, how a learner is assisted through the education system. And then I look back and look at the Zimbabwean education system and say, okay, is there anything that can be done to help the learner more than what they are actually benefiting, or more than what they are actually getting from the system as it is at the moment? Talk about one thing, which is extra time, extra time in assessments, extra time in examinations. Now, as I continue talking about the accessible education, because this is part of accessible education and it is what is called a reasonable adjustment. There are many reasonable adjustments that are in place for the learners in the England education system, but I want to stick to one. I will talk about the other ones in future videos. So I want to talk about extra time, which is a reasonable adjustment. So this doesn't require any finances. It just requires the teacher to know the students and then recommend that this particular learner is not able to finish an exam within the required time or within that allocated time, and what can be in place for them. Because you actually see that they have never finished an exam, they've never finished an assessment, where they, or actually all the formative assessments, for them they cannot finish those within the time given. And then what are the intervention strategies? Then, because the differences will be the physical abilities, that is, there are differences in physical abilities, there are differences in cognitive abilities, neurodiversity, all those other differences that are there among the students. And then how can they be helped as they go through the learning system? So I want to talk about extra time, as I've said, and so which can be done by the teacher through the system as they see the learners go through the system, and then recommend, okay, this learner can benefit from adding 25% of the time uh, at the end of the exam. Can this learner benefit that way? Right. So I come from a system. Okay, in the Zimbabwean education system, I was in a school where we had visually impaired students. So these students are the ones who got that 25%. Everyone else who wasn't, or who isn't visually impaired, gets that 2 hours if it's a 2 hour exam, gets that 1 hour, or that gets that 3 hours if it's a 3 hour exam, and nothing more than that. So everyone else who is not visually impaired is grouped into one uh, that one bracket. You must finish your exam within that time. But of course, if you want to talk about equality, this is equality where everyone is given the same amount and no more, no less. That is equality. That's what it
I can't see
demands.
over the wall.
But
Here,
if you
let me
look
help
at the education system, and because education must respond to the needs of the learners, not that the learners should adapt to what is there. If you are talking about accessible education, it must respond to the learners, to the needs of the learners. Okay, so looking at that, of those students who are actually in the England education system, it gets to be known that this learner cannot finish an exam, cannot finish an assessment, and then they get to check. The teacher will get to check, and then they recommend with some proofs that, okay, this student failed to finish their exam within the allocated time. In the next assessment, you give them that extra time, and then the scripts are annotated to show that, okay, after the allocated time, this is where they got to, and then you give them the 25% extra and then this is what they accomplished after. Does it improve their performance in the exam? If it does, then it justifies that this learner requires extra time. So this is looking at what is equity, where
I
you're,
can see
you're
the
talking about
performers.
Me too,
making
they're
it easy
dancing.
for
I can
everyone
see
to
clearly now.
access that
Thank you for the
system.
help.
So this doesn't require a lot, doesn't require any funding, but it requires people to take note of the needs in the individuals. Then you can ask yourself, how about in the world of work? How about in employment? How will they manage? Because this is a world of competition in some sort. That's where it comes in the accommodation, uh, being accommodative of different abilities among the population, and seeing that everyone is helped because they are members of the society, they are members of the community, and so the systems must respond to those people. Anyway, so that is what I wanted to talk about, which is the extra time, which helps the students in their performance, because not everyone is going to be able to complete that exam within that allocated time.